Welcome, welcome. Hey, welcome to Sunday school. So listen, the okay, so here's the thing. The most important thing to do, well, let me say this. In order to be the best version of yourself, in order to perform at your highest potential, in order to exist in your purpose, the first thing that you have to discover is your who, what, when, where, and why. So you have to know who you are. You have to know who, what. You have to know what you were created to do. You have to know when is your time frame, your timeline to do it. You have to know where, like where you're assigned to, and you have to know why you were created in the first place. So, in this first series of the From Detour to Destiny Sunday School, we're going to lay the groundwork of our who, what, when, where, and why. Because once that groundwork is laid, and we know our who, what, when, where, and why, we are better positioned to be the best version of ourselves. We're better positioned to succeed. We're better positioned to achieve all of our goals. We are better positioned to just thrive, like to not just be alive, but as they say, to thrive. So, is the groundwork is important because there's a lot of, what are the 7 habits of the most successful people, and what's the morning ritual of millionaires and billionaires, and what do you do daily to be the best version of yourself. All of that stuff is fine, but to me, that's equivalent of building the house, right? Or building the dream, building the goal, but you first have to have a foundation of who you are and why you're building it in the first place and what it is you're supposed to be building. So that's why this Sunday school, this part one, is all about laying out the who, what, when, where, and the why. Okay, so having said that, my name is Shalomith. Welcome to the Detour to Destiny Sunday School. I'm excited to get started with part one. So let's just jump right in. Part one, the who. Who are you? Very simply put, you are the child of God. You are a child of God. You are God's child. You are someone who God loves. You are someone who is created with a purpose. You are someone who God sees. You are kings. You are queens. You are princes. You are princesses. You are you are children who were born into a spiritual inheritance, a spiritual bloodline. For those of you who believe, that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior, that He, God wrapped Himself in flesh and walked the earth as Jesus in order to be the ultimate sacrifice for our sins. He died on the cross so that we would not have to. Bear the brunt of sin, so that we would not have to experience death. He took on death for us, right? That's who you are. You are a child of God. You are loved. You are you are a part of His inheritance. That's who you are. So the next is the what. What were you created to do? So we're talking about who, what, when, where, and why. What were you created to do? We were created to do the work of God. We were created to carry His message throughout the earth. We were created to tell the world who He is. Now, there's multiple ways that we can do that. There's is the possibility some of us may be assigned to directly speak through words, through books, excuse me, through songs, through poetry. Some of us may have been directly created to spread the message of who He is. Some of us are created to spread the message of who God is through support. So supporting the message being spread. Some of us are made to make sure that the message is spread throughout the earth because we encourage, or we give people the will to keep living, to keep showing up, to smile, to recover from heartbreak. And I want to break down all of the ways that you know that are what may there's a lot of different packages that the what may come packaged in, right? So there's a lot of different ways the what can be packaged. Who, what, when. The when is our timeline. When are we supposed to fulfill our purpose? The answer is now and always, all the days of our lives. Our time is now. It's not tomorrow. It's not when things are more perfect. It's not when everything is lined up. It's not when we feel like we're good enough. Our time to be who we are, our win is now. Our win is now. Why? Why do we have a purpose? Why did God create us to do anything? Our why, the reason that we do everything is for Him. Our motivation, our reason, the reason that we do everything is because God created us to do it. That's our why. That's our motivation. Right. So I'm going to go back from the top from our who, what, when, where, and why and break down each one in detail. So going back up to the who. Now, when I say that we are children of God, when I say that we are sons and daughters of God, when I say that we are those who have inherited the bloodline, the spiritual bloodline of Jesus Christ, um, when I say that, right, when I say that, what am I saying? What I'm saying is this: the children of God, the sons and daughters of God, are those who no weapon formed against us shall prosper. You got to understand and know that you have an army of angels encamped around you and fighting on your behalf. You have God Himself fighting on your behalf. You have to know that when you know who you are. You have to know that you are loved. You are loved. You are a very loved child of God. So when you're going throughout life, when you're going through ups and downs and tribulations and things you don't understand, you have to hold on to the fact that you are loved when you feel lonely. What does that mean? That means that your Father, our Father, Jesus Christ, loved us so much that He did not want you to be here on earth without a comforter. He knew that we would experience death of loved ones. He knew that we would experience trauma. He knew that we would experience hardship. He knew that we would experience heartbreak. But you have to know who you are so that you know how to access what's available to you. And what I mean by that is love and healing and restoration is available through you. It's only one prayer away. Your healing is one prayer away. Your restoration is one prayer away. Your redemption is one prayer away. So you have to know who you are so that you know what you have access to. So anyone listening who has been through heartbreak, who has been through death of a loved one, who is suffering from depression or trauma right now, what I want you to understand is pray. God, I feel heartbroken. God, I feel like I'm lonely. God, I feel like you don't hear me. God, I can't feel your presence. I'm crying out to you as your son, as your daughter, and I'm asking you to comfort my heart. I'm asking you to take the pain away, take the feeling of hopelessness away, take the feeling of despair away. Let me feel your presence. I'm saying that is who you are. You are a person who have access to that. That's who your Father is. So as we go through life and we go through the steps of what it takes to be a successful person and what it takes to live in your purpose and to thrive and to be the best version of yourself, all of that stuff, it starts with this as the foundation because as you are going throughout and you're achieving the goals and you're fulfilling the mission and you're fulfilling the work, the most important thing is that when you have hardships in this life, you have to know who you are. You have to know who your Father is so that you can pray through to keep the job going, to keep living, to not give up. Right. So that's why that is very important. You are the sons and daughters of God. No weapon formed against you ever has, ever will prosper. Everything that you ever done, you are forgiven. It's important that you know who you are. You are forgiven. You are a forgiven son and daughter of Christ. So let go of whatever shame and guilt you may be carrying around. Let that go. It's important that you know that you're forgiven so that you let it go. You are more than a conqueror through Christ who strengthens you. You are more than a conqueror. It's important that you know that, so that as you're living life and you're faced with different trials, tribulations, and challenges, you know that hey, when you face that, you got to tap into who I am. I'm more than a conqueror through Christ who strengthens me, because that's going to give you the courage and that's going to give you the boldness that you need to push through it, to face it head on, and to not be afraid. And even if you are afraid to do it anyway, because you have the courage and knowing who you are, and the fear dissipates, it fades away. So that's who you are. What? What are you created to do? So listen, there's two parts to the what, but it's the same what. And this is what I mean by that. What are we created to do? We are created to carry the message of who Christ is throughout the world. Some of us are created to do that directly speaking, the way I'm speaking to you. Maybe some of us are created to do it through writing. Some of us are created to do it through support systems. So what does that mean? Some of you listening, you may be visual artists, right? So you may be abstract artists, you may be sculptors, you may be people who, you may be someone who sings, or you may be someone who you're the best cook in the world, right? Or something like, you may be that person. Those are what I call supports. And the reason I call them supports is because of this. So let's take the example of the visual artist. You may be a person who's a phenomenal visual artist. The way that you support the overall work of the kingdom is this: the art creativity is a necessity in order for us to expand our minds, in order for us to stretch our creativity, in order for us to stretch our problem solving. So if you're someone who is a visual artist, right? When I am walking through an art gallery and I see your art or your sculpture, right? When I'm walking, or when I purchase your art, or I purchase your sculpture, and it's in my home, every time I walk past it, every time I take it in, the beauty of the artwork you created is expanding my mind, is expanding my creativity. Not only that, beautiful things heal us. So, beautiful pieces of art, floral arrangements, sculptures, beautiful color arrangements, aesthetics, it's actually healing, it's actually therapeutic. So, the way that directly impacts the message of who Jesus Christ is being spread throughout the world. Because take someone like me, who part of, my what is, I'm a speaker. I speak, I go out, right? Let's just say I'm on tour or something, and then I need a reprieve. When I'm walking past your beautiful artwork, when I'm sitting in a restaurant or sitting in a hotel room or sitting at my house and your artwork is surrounding me, it's actually healing my mind, is actually restoring me, is actually expanding how I critically think, is actually expanding my mind and my problem solving. So then when I show up to deliver the message, I show up to deliver the message in a more healed way, as a more healed person, as a more creative person, as a person who is more in touch with who I am and the things around me. So that's just an example how every gift has a direct impact on God's word being spread throughout the earth. Let's take, for example, someone who may be a phenomenal cook. Let's say that you are like culinary arts, you're a phenomenal chef, you are a culinary artist, right? And you may wonder, well, if I'm a culinary artist, how is it that the food I create, how is that impacting, or how is that provisioning or aiding in the message of who Jesus Christ is going throughout the earth? I'll tell you how, because food is fuel for everyone. And not only is food fuel, but food is also, again, therapeutic. And food is the staple and the foundation of so many memories, pleasant memories. Food is the center of family gatherings and friend gatherings. It's the center. It's kind of almost the foundation of the good times that we have with one another. Food actually makes our hearts merry and cheerful, and it makes the experience of life a great experience. So, someone, if you're looking at this and you're a culinary artist, and you may be wondering, well, how does how is it, does my art with food help spread the message? I'll tell you how, because for those who are directly, delivering the message through speaking, through song, through writing books, they have to eat. So that's direct, right? And then for all of us, right? In addition to that, for those of us who are helping, whether supportively or directly, us having good food to gather around to create good memories. Again, it's one of those things where we have great experiences. We show up as greater people. And food is a very strong foundation of the memories and the healing and the fun and the enjoyment and the entertainment that we experience. Because entertainment, laughing, having fun, having good food, having good experiences, those things are just as important as working. Those things are just as important as rest is just as important as the work. The leisure, the entertainment is just as important as the work because it's what gasses us up. It's the fuel so that we can continue to work. So, yes, culinary artists, yes, visual artists, performing artists, your work directly impacts how the message of God is spread throughout the earth. Let's go even deeper. Let's say like your gift is financing, or you are excellent in business, you are an entrepreneur, or you're a person who is phenomenal with in the stock market or um, cryptocurrency or day trading, whatever, right? Something that you do is just you are phenomenal at making money. How does that directly support? Well, a lot of times in art, creative arts, and messaging, we see a lot of compromise. And the reason we see compromise is because the person who holds the purse gets the final say of the creative narrative. A lot of times, the person who is funding the project has the final say so over the creative direction of the project. And a lot of times, we're seeing a lot of smut, a lot of perversion, a lot of self destructive and destructive content because the person who is financing the project, they're not funding the stuff that's talking about Jesus Christ. They're not funding the stuff that's talking about the message of salvation. They're not funding the stuff that is healthy, that is promoting life. They're promoting garbage. So for you to be a financial backer, you may be the person who's a great inventor, right? And you may feel as if you don't directly impact the message going forth, but you do, because your 10%, you may see a project that you feel like really needs to go out. It may not even be a project that's directly about the message of salvation. It could just be a project that's about a guy trip, guys going on a vacation. You know what I mean? Or it just may be a project that's simply about a family reunion, or it may be a mystery or a thriller, right? But it's a mystery, it's a thriller, or let's just say it's a drama. It's some type of creative work that does not promote an agenda that's against God's agenda. It's a piece of work that's beautifully written, that does not promote lifestyles and behaviors that are going to cause people to suffer with different addictions, whether it's porn addiction, sex addiction, drug addiction, right? It's a piece of work that's free from all of that stuff, and it's just art. And you may say, this is a good piece of art that needs to get out there. The world needs to see this. And the piece of work doesn't have funding. Well, if you're an inventor, or you're someone who's a strong business person, or you're someone who's strong in the money market, you may take your 10% and choose to fund the project. That's equivalent to tithing. Tithing is not just confined within the four walls of a church. It doesn't work like that. So think broader is what I'm saying. So you're what? Who, what, when, where, and why? What are you created to do? So you know that you're created to carry the message of who Jesus Christ is throughout the earth. The way you do it, your way is going to be dependent upon the way God created you. So God created all of us to impact this in a different way. So the my way is I'm a singer, I'm a songwriter, I'm a speaker. So my way is I'm creating music. My way is I'm talking to you like I'm talking to you right now. Right? That's my way. What's your way? What are your natural gifts and talents? Your natural gifts and talents are not happenstance. They are not coincidences. They are not things that just happen. The reason you can sing, the reason you can speak, the reason you can write, the reason you can cook, the reason you're good with numbers, the reason you I don't know, are a great inventor, the reason you're a great visual artist, the reason that you are a culinary artist, whatever it is, the reason that you are is because that's the God given assignment that God gave you. God said, hey, I see Tamika and I'm going to create Tamika I want her to be a culinary artist. So I'm going to give her the gift of culinary arts, right? And then that was assigned to you before you even got here. Or God looked and said, you know what? I see David and I want to create David to be someone who is phenomenal with numbers. He's going to be the money guy. So I'm going to just wire his brain while he's in his mother's womb to be this person who can just figure out numbers and how to make things profitable. That's going to be his gift. That's his assignment. And let me hand engineer him to be good at that. So in your mother's womb, you were hand constructed to be good at that. Is that on purpose? Another person, you may just be a person who's gifted at defusing a situation and making everything peaceful. So God looked and was like, you know what? I am going to create Keisha, and Keisha is going to be someone who is just a peacemaker. I'm going to give her a calm temperament. I'm going to develop, her brain and her emotional being to be a person who is just a calm person. She's going to be an empath. She's going to be a person who's highly emotionally intelligent. And as you were in your mother's womb, God was hand engineering your brain, your chemical makeup, everything about who you are to be a peacemaker so that you can come in and diffuse situations so that the message can go forth and we can live harmoniously with each other. Your gifts and talents are literally that on purpose. The word of God tells us in Jeremiah, before I was, you knew me and you called me for a purpose. That applies to all of us. Before we hit earth, before we burst through the canal, right? Before we came through the canal and existed in this earth, God had a plan for each and every one of you and decided each and every one of us and decided what our gifts were, what our talents were going to be, what our strengths are. So those of you who can look at things and you can just draw it and you don't know how, I don't know why I can just look at that plant and draw it exactly the way it is, because God hand engineered your brain to be able to do that before you got here. I don't know why I can just sing, because God hand, or he literally constructed your vocal cords to be vocal cords that bring forth beautiful sounds. I don't know why, I just come up with these ideas, because God downloads them in your brain because that's what He created you to do. So rewind and take a deeper look at your what with from that perspective, from that new knowledge, or if you already had it, revisiting that knowledge that your what is not happenstance. Your what is very on purpose. What you were created to do. So whatever your natural gifts, your natural abilities, your natural strengths are, they are on purpose, and they are the God-given work that God has assigned to you to impact the world in a positive way. That is your what. So you know your who. You know who you are. You know what you are created to do. Some of you may instantly know. Some of you may need to take some time. A lot of times, if we exist um, with constantly denying who we are or chasing money, sometimes we chase money and we run away from who we are. So sometimes we know that we're a singer, we know we're a culinary artist, we know that we're a speaker, we know that we're the money person, but tech or IT is the money bag right now. So we don't invest in singing, or we don't take the time to sing, we don't take the time to speak. For us, it's all about, hey, let me get this money, and we do that, right? Till some of you may need to get back to the drawing board and remember who you are. Now, am I saying to quit your job? Am I saying to just, no, I'm not saying that, because if you have a job, if like I work in tech, so I was one of those people who I chose the original. So I'm a software developer by day, right? And the reason that I got into software development was because as a singer songwriter way back in the day, my uncle, who was a visionary, he told me, he was like, you should put your music online, right? So you need to have like an online platform to share your music. And my uncle, being a tech guy, he introduced me to music so that, I'm sorry, he introduced me to software development, coding, so that I could build my own website, so that I could put my music online myself. That was my introduction into technology. Now, what happened is this: once I actually gained a skill set, the money was really good. Me as a software developer, the money as a software developer was really, really good. And I ended up, the music was on the back burner. I didn't pick up music for a very long time. And I ended up going down the path of software development. But I didn't even realize I had drifted away from the reason I got into it to begin with, which was the music. So that caused a lot of it caused a lot of disconnect. It caused a lot of emptiness. It caused a lot of feeling as if I was out of alignment. It caused a lot of unhappiness. I made a lot of money and I do make, a decent living as a software developer, but without the music, without me speaking to you, without me doing that part of it, it just always feels empty. No matter how much money I make, I always feel a little bit sad. I always feel a little bit disconnected because I'm not singing, or because I'm not songwriting, or because I'm not speaking to you. So I'm saying all of that to say, I come into awareness of that. My initial instinct was, okay, that means I need to just quit my job and just 100% do singing. No, you can do both, because how I finance what I do, my job as a software developer finances the art. It finances me speaking. It finances the internet connection that I'm on talking to you on. It finances the studio time. Right. And not only that, because of the job that I'm, being a software developer in the day and age that we're in, it backs everything that I do. Your gift makes room for you. So I believe that what's going to happen is this is just me. I believe that what's going to happen is, as I sing more, as I speak more than likely it's going to expand. The singing and the writing expands, and I'll probably end up singing, writing full time, and not having to do the software development at all. But the software development is still a tool. So it's not that you have to do one thing, is that you have to have one focus. And what that means is, if you have to temporarily have a job that may not necessarily be your purpose. So let's just say maybe you got to work at a department store and you don't want to work at the department store. Or maybe you have to work in an administrative job and you don't want to work in the administrative job. Maybe you work in IT, you're a lawyer, whatever, and you don't want to do that because you're like, I know that I'm a singer, I know that I'm a writer, I know I'm an inventor, I know I'm the whatever it is. You may want to 100% do that. And what I'm saying is to be financially smart and wise, and use that money that you make from your job, from your day job, to funnel into the gift, to funnel into the assignment. So what does that look like? If I work in a restaurant, if I'm a waitress by night, right? Or if I'm a waitress by day, whatever, if I work in a restaurant, or if I'm a chef, but I really feel like I know that I'm a culinary art. I really feel like I know that I'm a visual artist. So here's the example. I work in a restaurant, but I know that I'm a visual artist. Here's the play. Take the money that you make from working in the restaurant to buy your art supplies. Take the money that you make working in the restaurant to make sure that you have somewhere comfortable to live, so that you can be in the headspace to create. Take the money and make sure that you have the means to take care of yourself and your family, so that that stress is not added to you as you create the art. Now, as you're feeding the art, right? So now you're using that money from the restaurant to buy the art supplies, to make sure that you have a comfortable living conditions, to make sure that you can rent an art gallery for a weekend or something like that, or rent space at an art gallery, or rent or pay for a pop-up shop to sell your art. So now, your job at working in a restaurant is not taken away from the art, it's feeding the art if you choose to use the resources in that way. So that's really the takeaway, and that's something that I had to learn. I remember, because what I would do is I would always feel conflicted. I would always feel as if I was abandoning the art. I would always feel as if I was I would always feel like I wasn't walking with faith. I would always feel like I wasn't walking by faith, or I would feel like I was copping out. Like I felt like a failure. I would feel like, well, I didn't master being an entrepreneur, and that's why I have this job. And I would beat myself up about it. And I would be like, I'm gonna quit the job and I'm just gonna make myself succeed. I'm gonna burn every bridge and I'm gonna make myself succeed at music. I'm gonna make myself succeed in fitness or whatever it was I was doing. Because if I get a job, that means that I didn't do what it takes to make it. So I'm just going to put myself in this stressful situation and make myself make it. And I would do that, and I would quit every software development job I had. I would, and it was this vicious cycle, because the cycle for me was I would be financially frustrated and I would be like, I need to come up, right? And I would take contracts. So I was like, I need to come up. And then I would, take a contract, make some money, make a couple $1,000s, right? I would make some money, and then I was like, "Okay, I got the money. I'm about to quit the job. I'm quitting the contract, and now I'm jumping all back into the art, and I'm gonna make it work." And then I would burn through it. Then I would be financially frustrated. Then I would go get the contract, and then I would work the contract. Then I would, you know what I mean? I would hustle up money from software development. Then I would quit the job, and then I would pour all the money into the music or the fitness business or whatever I was doing. Then I would burn out it was a vicious cycle. And I'll never forget I got frustrated and I was praying and I was walking through the front door of my house. My front door, when you walk through, there's like a little hallway, my old childhood home, and then you walk into like the main living area. And I'll never forget, I was walking through and I was in a little hallway, and God spoke to me so clear. And this is what he said to me because I was frustrated and I was crying out to God. And God said, the reason, because I was running, and I'll never forget, God said to me, He said, the reason that people don't do what they're created to do, it's not because they work a job, it's because they only work a job. And listen, for the cycle that I was running in life, it may sound simple, but that was so crucial for me because I would always look at people and always say, I don't want to be like them. I don't want to be that person who just has the 9 to 5 and just wasting their life away. They don't do anything else. My biggest fear was always being a person who just had a regular job, a 9 to 5, and all they did was look forward to weekends and vacations during the summer. That is like a nightmare to me. That was never the life I wanted. So I always was running from being that person. So I would always see a job as a threat. I would always see it as imprisonment. But I was creating unnecessary stress and I was creating unnecessary hardship for myself. And I'm telling you, like when God tapped me on the shoulder and he said that to me, God was like, the reason the people you're running from, the people you're trying not to be, the reason that they only work a job, like the job is not the reason that they're not living their dream. Them having a job is not the reason that they're not fulfilling their purpose. The reason that they're not fulfilling their purpose, the reason that they're not living their dream is not because the job is taking up all their time. It's not because the job is handicapping them. It's not because the job is preventing them. It's because they only work. No one said that you couldn't work on your craft when you get off. You get off at 5, 6 o'clock, you go to bed 10, 11. That's a whole 6, 7 hours you have to do something else. Right? No one, there's no rule, there's no hard concrete rule that says that if you have to work another job temporarily, that you can't still sing, you can't write, you can't do comedy, you can't practice culinary arts, you can't invent. Who said that? Who made that up? Where did I get that from? And I got that from all of the documentaries that we watch when we watch people and celebrities and people who have quote unquote made it. When we watch them tell us the story about how they burned all the bridges and they couldn't have any other alternative, and that's why they made it and that's how they made it. So we look at that as the blueprint and we think, okay, well, I heard about this person who was homeless and this person who toughed it out and this person who went through this struggle so that they could just only be a singer and an actor, a comedian. So that must be the blueprint. So I'm gonna just quit my job and I'm gonna burn our bridges too. That is such a huge lie and a disservice. Because when you really listen deeper, right, you'll hear, like I remember listening and I heard Jamie Foxx say that he worked at a shoe store while he was, coming up. And I don't know why, but until God revealed that to me, I'm like, oh, he did have a job. He worked, he sold shoes. So if I have a job where I have a skill set where I can make way more as a software developer, why would I not do that? Why am I creating this struggle? Because a lot of us have an internal narrative that struggle is the rites of passage. The struggle bus is not the rite of passage into success. A lot of times struggle is just unnecessary. So I'm saying all that to say, as you discover your what, you don't have to quit your job. You don't have to cut off the source of income that you currently have. Shift your perspective, shift or pivot the way you look at it, and see it as a way to fuel your what. So, no matter what job you currently have, no matter how much you hate it, As you are transitioning into a job that you like more, or as you are transitioning into a place where you can do your purpose work full time, be smart. Use that money to fuel the transition. Don't cut yourself off at the knees. It's not necessary, right? And it's not wise. So it's okay to want a different job. It's okay to have a dream and a desire that whatever your what is, the culinary arts, the singing, the writing, the speaking, the comedy, the being an inventor, the money, whatever that is, it's okay to have a plan to make that the full time gig. But in the meantime, use what you currently have to fuel and finance what you're transitioning into. So that may look like you're buying singing lessons, or you're paying for culinary art lessons, you're paying for art material, you're paying to take a business class at night if you're the money person, you're paying for your patents if you're an inventor, right? Whatever that is, use that money to fuel it, and your gifts will make room for you, and they're going to make more and more room for you until they're taking up the whole room and you can let go of the other stuff. But be smart about it and don't cause yourself unnecessary stress. So, who, what? We covered the what, right? So, who are you? You are a child of God. You are loved. You are more than a conqueror. You are no weapon formed against you shall ever prosper. You are forgiven. That's who you are. You are the child who has inherited Jesus Christ's love line. The what? You are the what you are assigned to do. You are assigned to carry or either support the carrying of the message throughout the earth. The way you do your what, look at your natural gifts and abilities. What are you naturally good at? That's what you're supposed to be doing. Who, what, when? When is your timeline? Your time is now. We are supposed to be doing this now. Stop feeling as if you're not good enough. Stop feeling as if you don't have the connections. Stop feeling as if your end product is not polished enough. Stop feeling as if you are not developed enough. Stop feeling like, well, okay, once I take 10 more 10 more voice lessons, or once I get that final, polish on the production, or once I get, there's always a way you can be doing it now. There's always a way you can be doing it now. So what does that mean? It means this. Specific examples. If I'm a person who going back to culinary arts, and the reason I'm choosing culinary arts and visual artists, I'm doing that on purpose because everyone always hears about singing, songwriting, speaking. Everyone hears about that. But then a lot of times people who exist in these different spaces don't know how it translates. So I'm going way on the other end of the spectrum, and I'm taking culinary arts on purpose because that's something that most of the time when we talk about spreading, the message, that no one's talking about how a culinary artist is spreading the message, or no one's talking about how a visual artist or an abstract artist or a dancer is spreading the message, but they are. So that's why I'm doing that on purpose. But so what was I saying? My who, what, when? Oh, how does that look? So let's say when your time is now. You are a culinary artist. So you know that you want to have your own bakery. Let's just say you want to have your own bakery, you want to have your own restaurant. You know that you got to get your LLC or your corporate, your C corp, or however you choose to structure it. You know that you have to trademark the name. You got to do all this stuff, right? I get that, but you don't have to wait until all of that stuff is in play to do it now. So if you know, so start now. Have Sunday dinner. Maybe you're the person who you reintroduce Sunday dinner to the tape to the family or to your friends, because remember, the power of culinary arts is that when people have good experiences, when people have good food, when you are creating good memories that are surrounded around food, everyone walks away a better person. Everyone walks away more healed. Everyone walks away fueled, and everyone walks away in a headspace where they are more empowered to do whatever their God given assignment is. So you may, immediately with the intention and with the purpose and the reason of you having and hosting Sunday dinner, whether it's family or friends, right? You're going into your mind like, I'm going to host Sunday dinner because I know that this is going to empower everyone. See, now it's not just about having everyone over eating and laughing, even though that's cool. But in the back of your mind, you're fueling a bigger mission. You can do that before you get all of the corporate paperwork in place, right? Before you get all of your paperwork in place to that's the word I'm looking for, to build the business, to structure the business, you can start having Sunday dinners now. Okay, let's just say, okay, well, I don't have time, the money to finance a Sunday dinner for everybody every Sunday. All right, well, bake some cupcakes and do random acts of kindness, right? So maybe you're the person who takes some cupcakes to work. Maybe you're the person who just randomly shows up at someone's door and say, "Hey, I know this is your favorite cake. I just wanted to give this to you." You your win is now for the visual artist, right? For the person who creates art. Maybe your thing is you paint flowers, or maybe you're like you paint realism, or maybe you're abstract, whatever that is. Paint, right? Paint and hang it up, or paint and give it or sell it to someone. You know what I mean? Like if you want to sell it, you don't have to have all of the paperwork in place. If you have somewhere to live, think outside the box. Maybe your home is an art gallery, right? And invite everyone you know to your home. Clean up, do whatever you got to do, paint, hang the pictures up, and have like a walking tour throughout your house. And let people have a silent auction and let people buy the artwork. And then when people take the artwork home, now they have something creative in their space that's healing, right? So just think outside of the box. Your win is now. Right. So I just wanted to say that to get your wheels turning. Let's say you're the money person and you see somebody, their budget is just jacked up. Maybe just write out like 5 tips of how you can budget and just put it on Instagram or put it on TikTok as a reel or as a carousel. Give. Start releasing your win is now. Your win is now. Who, what, when, where? Where are you supposed to be doing this? Everywhere. Everywhere you go, let your light shine. That's the where. Where are you an artist? Like, what's your where? Where do you operate? Everywhere. Everywhere that you can, right? So it doesn't matter where you are. A lot of times people feel like I got to move to California, or I got to move to Atlanta, or I got to move to New York. They believe that their gift is confined to a certain where. Your gift is not confined to a certain where. Your gift is wherever you are. So what's your where? Your where is wherever you are. You don't have to move to you don't have to relocate for the gift to be released. Your gift can be released right where you stand. And a lot of times your gift will carry you to where you need to be. So a lot of times what we do is we try to carry ourselves there and then like take the gift with us. But here's a secret. If you do what you're created to do, your gift will carry you to where you're supposed to go. So your where is always where you presently stand. If you do what you are created to do, your gift will carry you to where you are supposed to go. I'm gonna say that again. If you do what you are created to do, your gift will carry you to where you are created, where you need to be. All right. So back to my example, like if you are a culinary artist, a visual artist, if you start cooking and sharing with the people around you where you presently are, the word is going to spread. That's your gift. Listen, I will travel 45 minutes, an hour away from my house. Me and my friend Mike, we are foodies. We will travel from here to a whole different city to get a food that we like. Right. So what I'm saying is your gift makes people come to you too. That's another thing with the where. Like when we talk about Warren Buffett, people travel all over the country to come to Warren Buffett. They don't go to where the New York Exchange is. He does not have to go there. They come to him. So your where is wherever you stand, right? Atlanta was not the new Hollywood, the black Hollywood, until Tyler Perry and other people who are creating content made it that. So they were like, they didn't. So the mindset wasn't like, okay, I'm going to relocate and go to California. I'm going to create my own California right here in Atlanta, right? So you create your own content media creation, whether you're in Cincinnati or whether you're in Oklahoma, whether you're in I don't know, Michigan, whether you're in Houston, wherever you are, that's where you need to be. So you don't need to be anywhere other than where you are to be who you are. You don't need to be anywhere other than where you are to be who you are. So be who you are, where you are, and being who you are is going to take you to where you need to be and bring the opportunities to you where you stand. That is a promise, not from me, but from God, right? So God knows what he's doing. Like I said, everything about you, God knew it from the beginning to the end. He knew where you were going to be born. He knew where you were going to be able to afford to live. He knew where you were going to exist. And this time and moment that you're listening to me, you don't need to be anywhere else. Be you where you are. Sing, go to like the open mics where you are, cook where you are, share financial advice in the city you live in. And the thing about this awesome time we live in with social media and the internet and apps and all that stuff, you're instantly everywhere anyway. Like me talking to you, I'm instantly everywhere on YouTube and on Instagram because anyone from anywhere can just log in and hear me. I'm not confined to where I'm sitting, right? So you just remember that. If you're an inventor, invent where you are. If you are a painter, paint where you are. You're a speaker, speak where you are. Culinary artist, cook, create culinary art where you are. That's your where. Who, what, when, where, why. What's the why? Who, what, when, where, why. We'll come all the way around full circles to the why. Why are you doing this anyway? Like, what is our why? One of the biggest reasons that how should I put this? One of the biggest reasons that people lose motivation is because the why is off. If your why is off track, like if your why is not what it needs to be, you're not going to carry through. You're not going to continue. If you don't have the right why, you're not going to continue. So, what is the why? It's real simple. The reason you should do whatever it is God created you to do is because he created you to do it. That's honestly the why. That's the why. You were created for God, by God. God created you for him. Your why is simply because it's your assignment. It's your praise and worship. It's your offering. It's how you offer your gifts to God. Why? Why do I speak? Why do I create? I speak because God created me to speak. I speak because when I speak, I know it makes God's heart smile. I speak because when I speak, it's an offering of worship. That's my why. I speak because that's what I'm created to do. That's why. Because I am a speaker. I am a child of God who is a speaker. I am a child of God, and my what is I'm a speaker. That's why. That's not alone because here's what happens. Like when you don't know your why, so if the reason that you are doing what you're doing is to, let's say, the reason you are, let me go from the culinary artist. Let's say the reason you're inventing is to be rich. It's going to be very discouraging during the season of your learning process because there's a season when you're learning, when it's like life is college. Everything. So you know how like when you create a new when you want to go into a new career space, you go to college and you got 4 years, 4 to 8 years, depending on what you choose to do, where you're not making any money, you're just learning. So that 4 to 8 years, you sign up for college knowing that you're not making money in the field for 4 to 8 years because you have, and you don't freak out about it. You're not depressed about it. You're not discouraged about it because you understand the process. That's what you signed up for. You signed up to go 4 to 8 years without making any money as you cultivate the art. But what happens is when we're outside of like a collegiate or a college atmosphere, we forget that that's the process. That's still the process, whether you're in school or not. So there's a season, whether you're in traditional school or not. We're all in school, but there's a time period where a season in life where it's the learning season. And during that learning season, we're not seeing a return. But if you shift your perspective and you understand, I'm in the school of life, right? If you shift your perspective, I'm in a school, you're not discouraged during that time where you're not making money or you don't have the following or you don't have the support. That's okay. If you shift your focus and if you tell yourself, oh, I'm just in college for this right now. I'm in the college outside of the four walls of college right now. If you shift it to that, you'll keep going. But greater than that, when the reason that you're doing it, so back to my example as an inventor, I'm an inventor. Okay. You're an inventor. If the reason you invent is because I invent because God created me to invent. And the way I offer praise and worship to God is inventing. So once your inventions become an exchange from you to God, from your hand to God's hands, when you start to see it as, God, I invented this. Here you are, Lord. Do with it what you please. I invented it because I know that you created me to invent. When that becomes the end goal and that becomes the total culmination of your why, there is no discouragement in that. But when the why is because I want to be rich, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be rich. But when that becomes your why, when you're not making money, if it takes 4 years, 5 years, 8 years, you're going to tap out year one. Depending on your financial situation, you might tap out 6 months in. So your why has to be the right why. Singers, songwriters, entertainers are really hit hard in this area because when the why is fame, when the why is popularity, when the why is to just be in the room, when the why is just to have the experiences, when the why is, just to make it, to feel like I crossed over, to feel like it finally paid off. When that's your why, it's very, very discouraging because during that season, when that's not happening, you're gonna give up. You're gonna give up. But if the reason that I sing is a praise and worship exchange between me and Christ, if that's my reason, if that's the reason why I'm showing up, I succeed every time. Every time I sing is a success. And I feel the success because that's my why, right? If the reason that I speak, if the reason that I, act, or if the reason that I'm a comedian is because God created me to do it. God, if you just imagine God as being your audience, I need you to, no one else is your audience. You need to create a life for yourself where it's just you and God is the only audience member that you're performing for. Now, God may choose to invite other people in to the party, to the event, but you need to be showing up with the mindset of, oh, God is waiting for me today to do this thing. And because God is waiting for me today to do this thing, I want to make sure that I show up for God. God is going to always be there. If nobody is watching this live, God is watching this live. I'm talking to you, but I'm really not talking to you. I'm talking for God. I feel like God wanted me to say this. Here's the thing. I don't know what God's intention is for it because, see, a lot of times the reason we get discouraged is because we don't know what God's plan is for what He has created us to create. I don't know what the plan is. So, this is what I mean by that. Sometimes when I'm singing, I don't know if the reason I'm singing is because I know the reason why, but what I'm saying is I don't know what God's plan is for it. So, I'm just giving it directly to God. This song is for you, God. Now, when I sing this song and I gave it to Him in praise and worship, it may be a song that He wants just for Him. It may be God has ordained this moment of me singing to be a praise and worship exchange between me and Him. If that is what God determines the purpose of the song to be, is it a failure? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Me singing directly to God, how dare that, can never be a failure. Today I'm showing up. The reason why I'm singing is because you created me to sing and I know you want me to sing. Here, God, I'm putting the gift in your hand. What's your plan for it? God may say, my plan for it is just to hold it to my heart. And when you sing, it makes me smile. I am 100% ecstatic with that. Now, when I put the song in God's hand, sometimes, so this is the song, I put the song in God's hand. God may say, oh, you know what? Today I want to use this song and I want to give this song to Carol. Carol needs to hear this song. So I'm going to take this song and deliver it to Carol today. If Carol is the only person who hears that song, am I discouraged? Absolutely not. I am ecstatic. God may say, you know what? I want to take this song and I want a million people to hear this song. So I'm going to take this song. So it's in God's hand. And God distributes the song to the million people. I'm not distributing the song. I'm giving the song to God. God is taking the song and saying, I want you to hear it. 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 A million people hear it because God decided to distribute it to a million people. Is so when God decides to distribute the gift to a million people, is it more of a gift? Is it more valuable? Is it more precious than when he decided that it was just an exchange between he and I? In all honesty, the exchange between he and I is probably the most sacred. But when your why is popularity, when your why is fame, when your why is to lift up your name, you're gonna be taken out. It's gonna be discouraging. The gift becomes unfulfilling. Um, you feel emotionally empty because the why is wrong. So if you're a visual artist, when you paint, the painting is for God. Whatever else he chooses to do to it is up to him. But paint from that perspective. When you're the culinary artist and you're cooking and you're creating that culinary art, whatever you're creating, you're doing it because you know God created you to do it. Imagine giving your kid or someone you love a gift and they're ungrateful for the gift. Like, and then they just kind of put it in the corner and it collects dust, or they're always complaining about the gift. How would that make you feel as the giver? Your abilities are the gifts that God gave you, and he gave them to you first and foremost to be a form of praise and worship to him. So if you're a numbers guy, work the numbers and be a good steward over your finances and give financial tips, not so that you are famous, not for riches, but because that's what God created you to do. That needs to be your why. Why are you showing up? I am showing up because I know God created me to do this. And I know that God's heart smiles when I do this. That is my why. That is why I am showing up. Now, the way you steward it, right? So let's just say, I'm not telling you not to be business savvy. I'm not telling you not to have common sense. I'm not telling you not to charge for what you do. I'm not telling you any of that. But I'm telling you your why needs to be, I'm doing this, God, because you created me to do it. Because when that's your why, when that's your measuring stick to know whether or not you're successful, you're always successful. You're always encouraged. You're always fulfilled. Do everything as an act of praise and worship. Turn everything you do into a praise and worship service. When you're cooking, cook with gratitude. Think about how amazing it is that you can. I'm cooking this and this tastes amazing. And man, God, I am so amazed that when I was in my mom's womb, you hand engineered me just to naturally be able to cook. This is awesome. And you cook it with that in your mind. When you're working out the numbers, when you're the numbers guy, oh my God, I can't believe that I easily can figure out this budget. And a lot of people struggle with figuring out budget. I am so excited. Lord, thank you. Thank you for this gift. And work those numbers. When you invent, I am inventing because if you hand engineered me, my brain to come up with these ideas, if you download these ideas into my head, it must be important if you went through all the effort to create me for this specific purpose. So I'm just giving it back. That is your why. So laying the foundation, y'all. Laying the foundation of our who, what, when, where, and why. That is the so laying the groundwork. Next week we'll continue to build upon laying the groundwork. So in the weeks that follow, we'll continue to talk about um, we'll continue to build the house, right? So we're going to continue to build, but we had to lay the foundation first because laying the foundation, if you don't know your who, what, when, where, and why, and you just start building the dream, you start building the empire, you start building the media empire, you start building the financial empire, you start building the restaurant, you start building a TV show or recording the album, whatever it is. If you start building before you have a strong foundation of what your who, what, when, where, and why is, you are building on sand. And you're not only building on sand, you're building on quicksand. And building on quicksand, it's going to pull you in, it's going to pull the thing you're building in, and it's going to suffocate it to death. But when you build it on a solid ground, when you build it on a rock of who you are, what you were created to do, when you're supposed to be doing it, where you're supposed to be operating, and why, that becomes the strongest foundation. That is the foundation that cannot be moved. And whatever you build on that will stand. But more importantly, you'll be able to stand as you're building. Because if you collapse, nothing is being built. And a lot of times, like I said, we collapse because we feel like failures, because we don't know our why. We feel like we can't make it because we don't know who we are. So we don't know how strong we are. We don't know who our Father is. So when trials and tribulations come, we collapse. We don't know what we're supposed to be doing, and we just chase whatever we feel like makes the most money. We don't know why we don't know when we're supposed to be doing it, right? We don't know where. We think we got to relocate. We don't know our why. So we feel discouraged. So laying that foundation. Today we have laid the foundation in this Sunday school of the who, what, when, where, and why. So now that you have your who, your what, your when, your where, and your why, I am excited for us to move forward and to continue to build. So until next Sunday, when we start building, have an awesome week. I love you so much, and I'll see you then.